1912, the British are still giving the Americans trouble, and so the Americans fortify the New York harbor because they don't want to lose Manhattan. So they build forts on to be for cars, but once again, New York's trying to get less people using their cars on the island, so no cars. If you want to drive from Staten Island, you can take the Verrazano Bridge the long way through Brooklyn, and then you can come in, or you can go the other way through New Jersey. Bridge coming up. The Brooklyn Bridge is one of the wonders of the world. When it was first opened for the first time, before that you could only ever take a ferry across. And at the time it was built in the 1880s, Brooklyn was its own jurisdiction. It was its own city, and it was the third largest city in the country. New York, Chicago, and Brooklyn. And then in 1898, after the bridge was built, Brooklyn becomes one of New York's boroughs. The bridge was he designed the bridge, but not too long after plans for the bridge started happening, he ended up dying, and so his son took over the project, Washington Roebling. But Washington also took ill during the project, and his wife Emily will say, "Oh, she was just running messages between Washington and the guys on the bridge," because he could see the bridge out his bedroom window when he was laying in bed in pain. But the reality is, Emily was a mathematician, and she did all the research to learn all the engineering. So she was really the one. Maybe she was consulting with Washington, but she went for Bridge Day, and Washington just wanted to hang up a sign and be like, "Bridge open." But no, the entire city shut down for Bridge Day. It was so exciting. One woman said it was bigger than the landing on the moon. It was so amazing. The bridge, and there's a really lovely pedestrian path on the upper decks today. A lot of people will come into the City Hall stop on the Manhattan side and walk to the first tower and then turn around and come back. So it's the busiest portion on the Manhattan side. I would recommend taking the train all the way to Brooklyn. Having some nice lunch. At the base of the bridge, there's kind of a wedding cake style building with a gold statue on top. That statue is called Civic Fame. And behind it is the building that we call the Jenga building, because it kind of looks like stacked blocks. Designed to have subways going over it. It did have a trolley originally. And there were fantasies about having subways go over it, but as the population